Um, Actually, I just want to invite you right off the bat, if any of you need to use the restroom, now is the perfect time to do it. Because once we get rolling, once we push play on the action, it doesn't stop. And it's roughly about an hour and 15 minutes. So if you do need to leave during the actual performance, I'll have two of my student ushers on the end seats there, and they can help safely guide you out, because you will be right in the middle of the action that happens. All part of the adventure. So I'm Thayer Jones. I am the primary author of Out of the Ashes. I have with me my amazing multimedia composer extraordinaire, John Anderson, and as well Kara Knox III, who is designing and running the lights for today's performance. Today's performance has two main missions to it. One is to receive donations. Thank you very much in advance for those. And that will help support our travels out to Utah exactly a month from now to present this work from basically my previous home before Michigan. I performed there for 5 full seasons with a wonderful modern dance company called Repertory Dance Theater. They're one of the oldest repertory companies in existence. They started in the early 60s. And they're celebrating their 60th anniversary this year. So it's very special. I feel very honored to be a part of that celebration, bring this work there. So again, thank you for your support to help make that possible. Mission number 2 is that Out of the Ashes is our newest iteration of 2 evening-length works. The first is Hammer and Nail, which I know many of you in the audience have seen that or a portion of that. That started way back in, well, it premiered, the first iteration of it in 2022, so about 4 years ago. And that's evolved tremendously. Part 2 to that was titled Scorched, and I started developing that in a wonderful New York residency that I was invited to participate in back in September. And that one, near and dear to my heart, culminates with an homage to the attack on the Grand Blanc LDS Church that happened at the end of September. So I thought about, hey, what if we combine these 2 works together, edited it down to about an hour and 15 minutes. And that's what Out of the Ashes has become and what you see today. A couple of things that I also want to mention is that we have in the audience today Kathleen Pfeiffer. Raise your hand. Kathleen actually helped create the script for Hammer and Nail, so I'm so excited for her to see this, because she hasn't seen this version of it, so that's wonderful. And I also want to say that at the conclusion of the show, after we bow, I am going to towel off. And if you see me perform, I don't know why. It's like I literally just came out of a heavy rainstorm. And at that point, if any of you need to leave, you can do so. And I'll just again thank you in advance for being here and sharing your time with me. If any of you would be willing to stay, we did this after last night's performance as well. I would love to get like a brief feedback session generated, because like I said, the second mission of this is to just pilot out this Out of the Ashes version and get feedback. So if there's anything that we want to adjust before we head out to Utah with it, it'd be very good to hear your perspectives. And some of you are encountering this work for the very first time. Some of you have seen part of it. Some of you were here in November and saw both works, and we're combining them together. So all of that will be valuable information, both from what you hear from John and both what you see choreographically from me. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. So with that, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy Out of the Ashes. Kids worked as the tear-off crew, carrying away all that old material and all that walking back and forth and carting it away that takes so long. I set them up as an assembly line, but still, they got bored. They complained, "I don't wanna." How could this be, I thought, that I learned this work ethic from my father, but that my own children won't learn it from me? I told them stories as we worked. That was my way of teaching them. Like the time when I was a teenager and I had to drive my uncle to the emergency room. We were working this job in California, and my uncle was laying on his side, reaching underneath the roof, a 2-story roof, right at the edge, trying to pull out a nail. He ended up falling off the roof with his hammer in hand, landing head first with his hammer underneath his forehead. All hell broke loose and everybody was running around and screaming. I sprinted down the ladder to see what had happened when my uncle comes walking around the corner, his hand cupping his forehead, and blood dripping down his face. And he says, "Yo, Tato." He always called me Tato. "Can you take me to the ER?" I said, "Uncle D, are you okay?" I could see his skull. His skin had lacerated that much that it exposed his skull. So I drove him to the ER, and when we got there, he says, "Thanks for taking me, Tato. Now, you go back to the job and keep working." Keep working. Once you're falling. You're falling. And when somebody's working that close to the edge, you call out and shout a warning, because that's when it usually happens. Right there. Right at the edge. I fell off the roof once, but I was very fortunate. There's this tar paper that you roll out, staple in right before you nail in the shingles. I was bunny hopping backwards, rolling it out, and I literally hopped right off the roof. Luckily, I fell backwards, and there was this large planter full of dirt. All fresh soil. So I landed on my pelvis, and the dirt broke my fall. I broke the planter. Falling, though, I remember in my gut, in that sensation of your stomach being left behind, like a roller coaster, and that G-force ending dip, and that moment of free fall for less than a second when there's no thought. And then, immediately afterwards, the gratitude for that fresh soil. I didn't scream and nobody saw me fall, so I called up to the roof. "Hey, Dad, I just fell off the roof. I just fell off the roof." He comes over, sees that I'm okay, and he says, "You idiot." Metals are dangerous. The first time I got cut, we were working in San Francisco. I was a teenager, and we were working in this residential area. You know how tall those roofs are? High roofs, built up to create the square footage. Cleaning up after a roofing job is a mad scramble. Everybody's tired, so they're all throwing down leftover material into back of trucks, throwing down tools onto the lawn because it's faster that way. I'm on the ground and my dad hands me this stack of metal. I had taken off my gloves because it was the end of the day. So my dad hands me this stack of metal drip edge, about 10 feet long. And when I grab onto it, it slices right into my hand. A good inch straight into the crease between my thumb and pointer finger. My dad and his twin brother, my Uncle Larry, drive me to this hospital near San Francisco, and I got 5 stitches. The scar is very faint now, but it became this trophy that I would hold up and show off to my fellow dancers at the time. My hand was huge, all wrapped in gauze. The doctor said that the stitches could come out after about a week, but one of my best friends at the time, the son of the studio dance owner where I began, said we should just take them out ourselves. So we just cut the sutures, pulled them out, and everything was just fine. A few years later, on another job, there was that same style of metal, and I was working right underneath it. I wasn't wearing gloves that day either, and that same stack of metal sliced right into my pinky knuckle. Dad sent me down the road to this pharmacy for some butterfly Band-Aids, and then he instructed me to come back to the job and keep working. But The pharmacist took one look at my hand and said, "You need stitches." So, my dad ended up driving me to the hospital one more time.
One nail, one strike, one roof at a time. One water droplet, one ocean wave, one cycle at a time. One nail, one strike, one roof at a time. One water droplet, one ocean wave, one cycle at a time. When I was younger, weekly ritual, washing her hair in the kitchen sink. My mother, her long, thick black hair, she'd always wring it out with a towel and always play the Hawaiian music channel in the background. My mother, her long, thick black hair, she'd always wring it out with a towel. Oh, I remember when she would perform the Hawaiian dance with those elaborate headdresses. My mother, her long, thick black hair, she got COVID and almost died. That long, thick black hair, much grayer, more coarse, thinner than before. When she almost died, I traveled to Hawaii to reconnect with her, to seek out an ancient man's hula that doesn't exist anymore. So, I created my own. Scorched, burnt, fried, charred, ground into a fine powder of dust. Fire, intoxicating. Insects that fly are attracted to it. Like Icarus, flying too close to the sun, his wings melt, plunging to his death. Moths, flies, mosquitoes, all fly too close to the heat and are torched. I have traveled there 3 times now. Arid, dry, mountainous landscape. A unique kind of beauty. Brown, dead, heavenly, sculptured rock formations. All with dried up creek beds that taunt the spent hikers with the suggestion of life-giving water. Massive cacti, whose once vibrant green skin blackened. A lightning strike, a spark, something mesmerizing, elegant even, about this fire-ridden land. A total clearing of what was, A new start, new growth. A purging of competition, of overgrowth, of impurities. Forced migration. Fire purifies, frees shackled complacency. Forced out! Everything is charred. Everything but the dirt floor. Burn it. Burn it. Disruption. Truck-sized kettle. Tar becomes liquid between 400 and 500 degrees. My dad and 2 of my uncles all got burned in their inner right forearms. My dad's, a 3rd-degree burn that had at least one benefit. The burn penetrated so deeply that it reached nerve endings, rendering them dead. He experienced no profound pain. In fact, he didn't even bother driving to the hospital. Legend has it that he went to the store and bought a bag of ice, and then he drove back to the job while icing his burn. When he arrived, he simply wrapped up his arm and finished the job. I always thought of my father as some crazed, heroic roofing madman. But really, it was him reaching that 3rd degree. There are species of seeds whose outer shells are so thick that the only way they can germinate is to pass through the extreme heat of a forest fire. My father died. I was at his bedside when he took his last breath. Scorching forest fires, melting tar. His body was cremated. The human body is roughly 80% liquid. Under extreme heat, all soft tissue, organs, basically everything but bone are consumed. It's a hell of a thing to think about my father's last breath. The last note he would ever play from his legendary saxophone.
A very nice song written by Miss Billie Holiday. Song entitled God Bless the Child. and them whose night we lose. So the Bible says, and it still is new. I said your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless the child who's got his own, who's got his own. The rich just seem to get stronger, while the weak ones try. Empty pocketbooks just don't make the grade. I said your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless the child who's got his own. God bless the child who's got his own. When you got lots of money, you got lots of friends. They'll be hanging around your door. 'Cause when your money's gone and your bad times that you've seen, set them all out. They won't be around no more, no, no, no. Rich relations may give you a crust of bread and such, or you can help yourself. But don't you take too much. I said your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless the child who's got his own. Who's got his own.
Shit. Shit. Shit, 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 shit. 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 My life revolves around shit. I clean up shit day after day, over and over again. Shit. Burn! Our twins. We thought we were doing our part in the world by saving them. They were dropped off at our house by CPS with the identifying trash bags full of their possessions. They were labeled globally delayed. Shit. We thought they would catch up, but they are autistic, nonverbal, identical twin boys. And that means twice as much shit. Literal shit. And as they get older and bigger, that shit ain't cute anymore. They pull their diapers off, throw them onto the floor, step in it, squish it, and roll their toys through it. Shit. I will depart this life if and when I reach the age and stage when I am shitting myself. My dream exit? Skydiving without a parachute. I run up the stairs to say goodbye, and that all too familiar aroma of shit hits me. I can't leave my wife to clean it up, so I dutifully take care of it before I head off for the show. Nobody, I mean nobody, has any idea what I did before I performed. I literally cleaned up shit and performed as if nothing had happened. Afterwards, when I return home, there it is again to greet me. Shit. And I clean up the shit again. Shit. Burn! People turn shit into sugar all the time. He meant it figuratively. But I wish, no, I pray even, that God would send just the right miracle to potty train them. But until that time, I will continue to be uncelebrated, unheralded load manager with a PhD in shit. My church in ashes. burned to the ground. A pile of rubble. Like Icarus, flying too close to the sun, his wings melt, plunging to his death. My church in ashes. A pile of rubble, burned to the ground. A new start, new growth. Out of the ashes, rise! My church in ashes. So if you're leaving, thank you for coming. I'll be back in 2 minutes if you'd like to stay and chat.